All right, let's go ahead and get started. Today is August 15, 2019. This is the meeting of the Kubernetes Storage Special Interest Group. As a reminder, this meeting is public, recorded, and published online. So today on the agenda, we have primarily planning, going over the items that the SIG is working on for the Q3 1.16 release of Kubernetes. We'll get status updates from folks who are working on items. The important dates to remember are here. The next upcoming one is August 29, which is code freeze, which is about 2 weeks from now. So if you have features that are pending, please keep that date in mind. I don't see anything in PRs to discuss or design reviews or any other miscellaneous items, but if you have anything, please feel free to add to the agenda, and once we're done with planning, we'll go over those items. Switching over to planning, let's go ahead and get started here. I cleaned up the spreadsheet a little bit last time to fix the sorting issues. So that should be good to go. First item we have is CSI migration to beta. Either David, Chang, or Deep, can one of you give an update on this?
Yeah, I can get started. So basically, we are going through 3 items in that area. One is the CSI EBS end-to-end framework. That's a work in progress. The second one is the CSI spec change around list volume improvements to make sure that the volumes are attached file has a CSI equivalent that'll aid with migration. And the third point is completely disabling all plugin code within entry, so that at some point when we do plan to remove the code, there are no unexpected results.
Okay, and all of these are in progress?
Yeah, all of these are in progress and in pretty decent shape.
Cool, thank you very much, Deep.
Sure.
Next item is CSI Onlineoffline resizing to beta. Last status update was 1 PR pending for external resizer was merged. Remaining work was testing and a bug around block volumes. Amant, are you there?
Yeah. So there's a PR open for fixing the bug about the block volume, and Fabio has been helping out with the tests actually to ensure that we are running the resizing test. I'm working on enabling the feature gate, and we discovered a small issue with raw block resizing, where we should not resize the volume if it is being used in raw block mode and it has a file system on it. So all the driver authors should fix it. I was going ahead and filing issues I filed issues for AWS and GC driver. There was already Michelle opened the issue.
Is that a separate from the existing block volume bug that there's a PR open for?
Yeah, that's a separate from that one.
So
that has to be fixed in the driver. The existing bug was in the core Kubernetes.
Okay. Another set of issues of raw block with a file system on it. Per driver fix. Okay. Sounds like good progress.
And I have opened a PR in CSI repository for, like, in the long run, we want to have the capability available in the both node expansion and controller expansion calls, actually, so that right now it is possible to detect the volume mode by checking the volume path, like if it is raw block, if it is a file system, if it is a mounted file system. So we don't need to block beta for it, but in future it'll be nice to have that information explicitly available from in both the calls. So I have PR open for CSI.
Cool. I'll take a look at that too. Thank you, Hemant. Next item is CSI library, moving mount library to external common repo. I saw a bunch of PRs around this, and I believe they should be merged. Travis, are you on the line by any chance? Michelle, can you give an update on Travis's behalf?
Yes, this is moving the mount stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he got some feedback from Tim and made a number of updates and refactorings for it. I think he only has 1 or 2 PRs left, but it's getting very close.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. Next item is per node volume attached limits, implement beta redesign. Last update here was 1 PR merged, 1 PR outstanding, testing limits for all CSI drivers. Jan or Hemant, can one of you give an update on that?
The status is basically the same.
Okay.
I have a test. I have a PR for the test, and it shows up that it takes 20 minutes to test actual limits of GCE and AWS, so the test is probably going to be disabled. And at least 2 hours ago, it was still on review.
Okay.
I have a small thing to add on to this one. I would request, I don't know what's the best way to communicate this, but I would request that all the drivers, CSI drivers, have a CLI parameter that allows the limits to be overridden actually, because this was intended, but I'm not sure if all the plugins support it. And the reasoning is like sometimes the limits that we read from, I don't know, cloud provider may not be sufficient. So it's something to call out, or we need to discuss this probably in CSI implementation call.
Okay.
Hey, this is Dave Smith-Uchida from VMware. I'm new, and I'm curious, what do you mean by being able to override the maximum number of volumes? Like, we have a max number of volumes we can attach to a VM, and overriding it won't change anything. So what would this do?
Yeah, so the use cases like in AWS, for example, the default that we return on Nitro instances is 25, but depending on if you have external other the elastic network interfaces present or something else, the limit, actual limit might be lower. Similarly, in maybe like you're running on GCPD and you have other volumes you're using, like maybe for running a separate volume for your Docker volume is separate or something else that, for example, OpenShift runs in, then it's useful to be able to override that limit so that the maximum limit is actually lower than what was reported. So users should be able to like not user, but admin should be able to configure that limit on when they install the driver on the node.
Okay, thanks.
I think in general, my feedback tends to be let's avoid adding any new knobs, parameters to expose to end users. In general, we should try to automatically do the right thing. But I realize in some cases we might not be able to do that, and that might be a requirement, but we should be very careful when we do that.
Cool. Okay, I agree.
Next item is block volume, CSI, and in-tree support. So last status was Fabio was working on an iSCSI bug, which may have been merged, and tests and other bugs were in progress. Any updates on this, Brad?
Well, it's mostly me who's working on it, and iSCSI is fixed as far as I know, and all the bugs we know about are fixed. And I am adding tests and fixing issues very, very slowly, but it's going to be still beta in 1.16, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I think it's fine.
Okay, sounds like it is on track. Thank you, Jan. Next item is scalability testing. So last update here was cluster-wide tests were implemented, trying different test case parameters on those, awaiting test infra improvement PR. Any updates on this? Anybody on the call want to give an update on the scalability testing?
Sure. So for ephemeral storage types, we have single node scale tests running. And for PVs, we have the single well, all of them have both single node and cluster-wide tests implemented, but we have not enabled the cluster-wide ones because they are dependent on changes in the test infra to be able to support multiple jobs running and sharing the same 5,000 node cluster.
Awesome. So Ephemeral and PB both have single node and cluster-wide tests implemented. Ephemeral is running single node scale tests. Neither of them are running cluster-wide tests because we're waiting for a test infra change. And then single node for PVs, is that?
That's not running either.
Okay.
We need to work with the cloud team before we can enable those.
Got it. Cool. Thank you very much, Michelle. Next item is volume snapshot namespace transfer. The KEP didn't merge. We're going to focus on getting it merged by the end of this quarter. I'm not sure if, John, you've had a chance to work on this. Okay, it looks like John's not there and I haven't seen any updates, so mark that as no updates. Next item is new, actually let me check the priority on this, P2, okay. New design for volume permission and file permission handling. Any updates on this, Brad?
Unfortunately not.
Okay. And then the next item here is, I guess, related, same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, file permission for Windows. We'll assume that's the same. Volume expansion for stateful sets.
Yeah, so the KEP is, I think KEP has been, it's not yet merged, I think, but it's been, it has LGTM and approve all the labels. So, so design is done, we'll target implementation in next quarter.
Okay. So let's switch this to design. All right, thank you for your work on that, Hemant. Next item is CSI volume health. Last status was the KEP was updated to address feedback, and the goal this quarter is design. Xing, any updates on that? Looks like Xing is not on the line, so we'll go ahead and mark that as no update for this week and get a status update in 2 weeks. Next item is read-only handling. This is work that needs to be done that is highlighted in this issue here. I haven't seen any PRs for this, so I'm going to mark that as no updates. Next item is the CSI Spec Alpha Beta GA designation. There are features pending right now that are going into the spec. We haven't decided if we're going to, which one of those features we're going to mark as alpha or which ones are just going to go straight into the spec. We had a couple of PRs already merged. One was clarification PR, so that it didn't apply to, and then a second was updating the spec build process, so that didn't apply either. So this is kind of a wait and see until we have a feature that it's going to need this. Next item is for CSI for Windows, the storage proxy. Last status was the KEP was merged and repo was created. Deep, any updates on that?
Yeah, so I have the PRs out for the entry and the node driver registrar changes for Windows. There's been a couple of reviews, and we'll just go through the process. And the CSI proxy, like an initial version of the gRPC API between the plugins and the proxy, has been submitted. So that's out for review. And another update is Jing is trying to create a work group around this as well, because a lot of people might be interested. So if you care about CSI support in Windows, please send me your email address or to Jing directly.
Awesome. So as a reminder, work groups are a way for the SIG to kind of focus on work on individual projects. Unlike this meeting, which everybody is welcome to join and listen in, work groups we try to limit to the folks that are actively working on a project just to keep the noise down. And so if you are interested in working on the Windows related things at all, and you're interested in doing work, then reach out to Jing or Deep and they'd be happy to add you to that work group.
Thanks.
Next item is snapshots to beta. This is a fairly ambitious, large project. Sean, I see you online. I don't think Jing or Xing are there. Could you give an update today?
Sure. This is an ongoing effort, and yes, as you mentioned, it's kind of ambitious. Right now, we have breakdown the work into kind of 3-4 major pieces. The first piece is the API review, which means the type stock go. We had a couple of rounds with the team already. We need to make some changes, and that will likely involve a whole bunch of code change because we are renaming some of the variables, removing some of the fields, moving some fields from the Volume snapshot to Volume snapshot content. I'm working on this. Shin has been continuing working on separating the controller out. Unfortunately, this piece also has a strong dependency on the type stock go change. So our goal for probably this week and next week is to try to get type stock go get checked in, and then we can finish the controller piece. And the third piece is the end-to-end test. Unfortunately, there's no one working on this activity. If anyone wants to contribute, please feel free. And this is basically to make any necessary changes after we separate the controller out. The deployment model needs to be changed. And the fourth major piece will be updating all the comments and updating all the documents in Kubernetes, including the web page. This is also not easy work as well. It also depends on the type stock go. And lastly but not least, there will be changes in external provisioner, maybe in other controllers as well, to adapt all the type stock go changes so that it doesn't break. So you see there's a whole bunch of work over there. So far we have been focusing on 1 and 2 because those are the most heavy lifting pieces. And 3, we don't have anyone working on that, unfortunately, at this point. Yeah, other than that, I'm also working on having a design doc that can be beneficial to the community to see what's the model of having a common controller.
Nice.
So having the controller within the sidecar, along with this work. But this should be done after we push this thing to beta.
Awesome.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much for that update, Sean. This is very ambitious. And for folks on the call who are very interested in snapshots, there is help needed here to move this to beta. If we don't get help, it may slip. So if you're interested in helping move this feature along quickly because you have some sort of vested interest, now might be the time to step up and help out here. Sean, Jing, and Xing would be happy to onboard you and kind of point you where you can help out. All right, next item is volume cloning. the KEP was merged, and I have not seen the PRs for this yet. So,
Been mostly reviewing PRs for the.
sorry, say that again, Michelle.
I've been reviewing the PRs for
Nice.
volume cloning. So pretty much almost there. There's just the last thing is one is adding 2E tests for the. But once that's done, then he can feature gate.